Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to No Name Gaming. My name is Alex Light here at Racing Lights Productions, your home for sim racing. We are live at the virtual Michigan International Speedway for the Online Motorsports Association's Virtual Racing Championship. They call it POP 200. Tonight we kick off the Season 10 playoffs and our quest to crown a champion. Whoever wins the champion this season will be the first OMA VRC driver to win a championship on iRacing. You'll be able to identify our playoff drivers out on track by the green banners, and you'll also be able to see where they are through the night on the timing tower. The playoff drivers will have their name highlighted in green. That way you can see where they are at on track at all times. 2 weeks ago, we had our season finale where Drew Jua won his second straight race, which marks his 6th on the season. The only other multi-win drivers this season are Jared Talmadge and Eric O'Connor, who was withdrawn following the Long Beach race. Half of our playoff field are still looking to get their first win, and what better time to do that than the first round of the playoffs. Isaac Shelley and Tim Moore are probably the ones that have come closest to getting a win in multiple attempts, but just can't seem to have that push at the end of the race. But Michigan is an interesting track because of the high speeds and the pack style racing. Let's go over the season schedule here for the remaining of the season to see what's coming up in the next 6 weeks of the playoffs. So tonight we are at Michigan. Next week we go to Richmond. Then we do some super speedway racing at Talladega. And then we go road course racing with the Charlotte Roval, and then Phoenix for a little bit bigger than a short track, and then we wrap up the season with the, unfortunately not open right now, Chicagoland, but that track will create some really good racing for these Gen 7 cars. Now taking a look at the playoff standings here, Drew Jua currently in the lead. He has a 23-point gap over Jared Talmadge, 31 points over his teammate Tim Moore. Min Hang is 35 back, and Jolene Sims, who rounds out the top 5, is 35 points back. This is based off of the stage points they got, playoff points from that stuff, from wins, things like that. So because the way that Drew Jua has run so far throughout the first 2/3 of the season, he's earned himself a really good spot. He currently is almost a full points day ahead of most of the playoff drivers. It's really impressive to see the way he's raced. We'll see if he can keep that up throughout the playoffs. He's coming in 2 straight wins between Long Beach and Las Vegas. So it's going to be a bit harder, I think, to keep it up here. We've seen both in the Road to Pro Truck Series as well as the eNASCAR Coke Series. This track can be a bit of a lottery at times. It's not. It looks similar to Auto Club, the 2-mile D oval, multiple lanes you can run, but I don't think it runs as free as Auto Club does. The track's a little bit tighter, a little bit hotter. And while Auto Club is more like in the corners, like a 3-4, if you want to stretch it 5 lanes wide, that you can run different lanes, and it's about trying to manage the tires and trying to see if you can run wherever and find the pace. I think Michigan, on the other hand, is a little bit different to where it's more of a, you have to find that groove, and there's only about 2-3 lanes that really work well here. We'll see, though. I mean, I've been wrong before. Jolene Sims at Old Atlanta ran the top line, which is fast, and I knew it was fast, said it was going to be quick, but then thought the tires were going to burn up. She ended up winning that race, so she proved us wrong there. So we'll see if that's going to be the similar case here tonight. But taking a look at the... Oh, those are not updated. The team standings are not updated. My apologies on that. I thought they were. But looking ahead here into... Let's go back to the driver's standings. Whoops, that is not the driver's standings. My apologies. There we go. Looking back at the driver's standings, you have towards the bottom, the drivers that got in off of the driver that got in on the wild card was Kyle England, but you also have Ryan Miniker got in, Tyler Glass. They both were fighting at Vegas, and Tyler Glass at points at Vegas was competing for that win. He was top 3 for a good while, and then the car just kind of died off on him. So don't be surprised if we see him fighting real strong here tonight. and giving himself a chance to try and win. I would not be shocked to see Tyler Glass maybe up there fighting for the race win towards the end of the night. Depends on how things play out, though. We'll have to wait and see. James Mendez and Jonathan Amodio also getting in 8th and 9th in points. And I think Mendez started to find some speed really, really well there towards the end of the regular season. Las Vegas, had he not gone into some incidents early on, probably would have found himself competing better in a top 5 spot, but it is what it is. He did the best he could with the car. But even Jonathan Amodio, he's found some really good pace as of late. The July and the first couple races in August, he really came into his own in that car. We'll see if the 7 car has some extra pace here as well. But it looks like qualifying is all wrapped up. So let's go take a look at our starting lineup here for tonight. This is the They Call It Pop 200 in our starting lineup. We've got on pole Jolene Sims. She ran a 39.355. Min Hang alongside. So we have a lockout on the front row from McGinnis Motorsports. He is just barely slower than she is with a .019 off. Then you in the second row have Drew Jua, the reigning back-to-back Season 10 champion. We'll see if he can make it a three-peat. Then alongside of him, we got JT Sipes. Tim Moore, another fellow champion, back in 5th place, looking for his first win for tonight. Then you have Jarrett Talmadge alongside in 6th. In row 4, we have James Mendez and Jonathan Amodio. Rounding out the top 10, we have Tyler Glass and Colin Teague. Going outside of the top 10, we've got Jared Newton and Ryan Miniker. And then rounding out the field here tonight in row 7, Brad Qualls and Jimmy Amos. So a little bit of a smaller field here tonight. Not everybody is here that's in the playoffs. A couple drivers are missing. Some drivers to make note of that are not here. We are missing Isaac Shelley. And I think actually in Kyle England, those are the 2 drivers that we are missing here tonight. For those playoff drivers. We should be getting out of pit road here momentarily, but should be a really exciting race tonight. Hopefully you guys are all excited, ready to go. Again, 6 playoff races over the course of the next couple weeks here. And just a quick little heads up. I know it didn't say the correct dates on the schedule, but through the... trying to think here. I think it's Charlotte Roval, Phoenix, Chicagoland, I think maybe Dega. Yeah, Dega starts it off. Those broadcasts will be switching from Saturday night to Sunday night. There is a conflict in my schedule. Thankfully, the league was kind enough to be able to switch to a Sunday night. It might be a little bit of an inconvenience to the drivers, but everybody was able to make it work. So we're going to be able to have Sunday night races, still be able to have all the races broadcasted for you guys. As we get ready to come around turn 2, you can see most of these drivers have the playoff banner on, that nice bright green. It'll be very easy to see out on track. Not everybody does, though. You can see Min Hang in the 2. Tim Moore in the 48. Or not 48, 69. And then Ryan Miniker in the 48 all do not have their playoff banner on. So most of the playoff drivers, though, they do have that on. So you'll be able to see them very easily throughout the track. You can also see the spoiler also has the same green color. But the pace car getting ready to come off. We're going to get ready to go green flag racing here. And here we go. Small field, but we're going to get some good racing here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. And we are green flag racing for the They Call It Pop 200. And a little bit of smoke coming around turns 3 and 4. But you can see already fanning out here all the way on the bottom. Drew Jua in the 4, opting to take that bottom line. Oh, not really opting. He kind of gets forced down there. Min Hang pulls away in 2nd place. And then in the lead right now, Jolene Sims. But this is the battle for 3rd as Drew gets a little squirrely on the exit there. Tires still very, very cold. Got to get that grip into them. That's going to be a 3rd place for JT Sipes, and we're going to see Drew Jua settle on into 4th place. Jared Tallmadge going to see if maybe he can move up a position here as well. But side by side here behind Drew Jua, we got Colin Teague in the 51 riding along behind Jared Tallmadge. And then you've got Tim Moore hanging back in the 69 car. Because of the smaller field, my guess would be this is going to be more of a strategy race, as drivers are going to have to try and plan out their pit stop to try and maximize the pace on these tires. As you see, Min Hang get loose out of turn 2. He's able to save that. He's going to come back in line, but is going to be next to JT Sipes. So they're going to be fighting here for 2nd place. Drew Jua gets a prime view at this, as he's right up front on it. Come out of turn 4. It looks like that higher line is going to get a good run here. They're going to leave Min Hang out to dry as he tries to side draft along the 16 of Jared Tallmadge. Not going to happen there, as he's going to have to try and run as low as he can. But kind of running that bottom line. The big thing about Michigan, though, you try to run all the way down to the bottom, especially in turns 3 and 4. The car there's no grip there. The car doesn't want to stick. It gets a little loose. If you're not careful, it runs very tight. We saw it a couple times in the NASCAR Coke Series. Drivers trying to force it all the way to the bottom, try and run right along that yellow line. The car just plowed it. They would just collect piles of cars coming out of turn 3. But Min Hang is going to fall back in line. Unfortunate for him, but that is going to be back to 6th place. So now your running order right now, top 5 is Jolene Sims starting to pull away a little bit. JT Sipes 2nd, Drew Jua 3rd, Jared Tallmadge 4th, and then Colin Teague, one of our few non-playoff drivers here tonight, rounds out 5th place right now. Drew is going to look to make a move on JT Sipes, but isn't going to be able to get the car down there all the way. Going a little bit further back here, taking a look, this is the battle for 7th place. Tim Moore holding off right now. Jonathan Amodio in the Money Lion Toyota. And we've seen Amodio lately. He's had some really good results. And he's gotten a lot of speed, but also learned a lot of patience. So we'll see if he's going to continue that here as we go throughout tonight's race. But the tracks that he's been really good at, the 1.5 mile tracks. We haven't seen a 2-miler since all the way back in, I believe, April with Auto Club. So it's been a good bit of time here. The winner of that race, currently falling back here a little bit, he's back to 6th place now, is Min Hang, and he won that. He was the fast driver in the short run, but he got a little bit lucky because we racked up 3 overtime starts, and he was able to capitalize on each of them, getting himself out to the front. Got Jimmy Amos along the high side, staying right along the wall, trying to stay out of the way of any races for position. You see Tyler Glass have a couple issues there coming off of turn 2. Going to drop him back a little bit. And Tyler Glass, if you take a look at his car, it shows the 41 in the Stuart Haas machine. But that is not Ryan Preece. That is a Tyler Glass, driver of the 8 car. So not sure if he just forgot to switch back his car to his typical cowboy scheme. But yeah, so just so you guys know, even though he looks like the 41 on track, it is actually the 8 of Tyler Glass. As we fan out more and more here, Colin Teague gets a little loose out of turn 2. That's going to allow Min Hang to get up onto the outside. Gets in the wall a little bit, but that's going to give him an opportunity to fall back in line. But look behind James Mendez moving up the field a little bit. But Colin Teague, he's got hot and cold moments. He's had some really good races throughout the season, but then he just never seems to get the finish that he quite wants. If he had the pace that he's showing like right now, or he showed back at Vegas, he was a really strong driver at Vegas too in moments. And I think he would probably be one of these drivers that would be racing in the playoffs right now, but it just was hot and cold for him throughout the season. He just couldn't seem to get that consistency that he really wanted and really needed. be up here fighting for a playoff, for the championship, or what would have been a playoff spot just 2 weeks ago. You see a battle up front starting to brew. Drew trying to look around JT's sights, but not having opportunities. You can also see behind here, James Mendez trying to run a different line. And you'll see a lot of these drivers sticking in line here through the corners. Some, though, opting to try and go out to a higher line or maybe even a lower line, depending on where the driver in front is. You can see Mendez always running about a car length or a lane higher than Tim Moore, and that comes down to the dirty air, just trying to get clean air. The dirty air will make the car harder to turn. It will get some understeer. Will be a little tight through the corner, makes it harder to rotate. And so by finding that clean air, that car's going to turn a lot better, going to carry some more pace through the corner. However, the only downfall, especially like if you're James Mendez running that higher line, it's going to burn those tires a bit more because you're pushing a lot harder through the corner, carrying a lot more speed. Off of turn 4, Tim Moore going to see if he can push himself forward to 6th place. Alongside Colin Teague going through turns 1 and 2 on the bottom. Tim Moore gets a slight advantage, but it's not going to be enough to get around the 51 of Colin Teague. James Mendez going to see if he can pounce on Tim Moore as well. If he can gain himself a spot, as he's been fighting with Tim Moore the past couple of laps. But Tim gets a really good entry through turns 3 and 4, and I like the way we see James Mendez run the corner there. He goes for a later apex, trying to see if he can carry some more speed through the exit by getting a straighter exit off the corner. He actually opts for the bottom line with Tim Moore in the inside of Colin Teague now, as Tim Moore should be able to clear the 51 here through turns 1 and 2. Will he be bringing the 92 with him? Jonathan Amodio also following behind the 92. You see Tim Moore go back to the high line, and actually he's going to go to the bottom. Interesting to see him go back and forth a little bit, trying to keep either driver from getting that advantage, from getting in the draft. So he goes back and forth through the backstretch and coming through turns 3 and 4. Almost contact there between the 92 and the 51. Great control from Mendez to be able to get that car back as it got a little loose on the exit there. That's something we're going to see. Cars starting to push tight on entry just because of how this car drives around the track, as well as some drivers getting loose on the exits because you have to push so hard on the entry, it's going to burn up the rears a little bit more. Or sorry, you have to push so hard on the exit, it burns up the rears a good bit more. And Teague makes contact with Mendez. They're dooring all the way into turn 3. Side by side, Jonathan Amodio taking a peek, maybe going to make it 3 wide as they go down through turn 4. Jonathan Amodio on the back bumper of James Mendez. They're going to see if they can ride all the way to the bottom and get clear of the 51, but it's allowed the drivers behind of Ryan Miniker and Tyler Glass an opportunity to move up, as a big bump there from Tyler Glass is going to shove Ryan Miniker up on the entry, and that's going to allow him to get down to the inside. It's not going to be enough to fight for the position, but Jonathan Amodio doesn't clear Colin Teague and falls back in line. We go back into turn 3 and 4. Colin Teague's going to see if he can make a move back on the 92, but doesn't get a deep enough entry. That's going to allow James Mendez to hold on to this position. That is P7 for him. And you can see Jonathan Amodio, he's trying. He's itching at the opportunity to make a move, make it up to P8. Going further ahead, though, Jolene Sims, her gap has dwindled. She had pulled away a lot, got that gap to almost a full second, but now that gap has dwindled down to just about 3/4 of a second. And you can see it's a battle right now of 2 packs. You've got the top 5 just kind of driving in a line, holding on, just seeing if they can pull away from the drivers behind. And they are a little bit each lap, maybe about a half a tenth to a tenth each lap. That's going to add up as we go throughout this race. We keep seeing Jujua trying to play around with different lines, trying to get some different runs throughout the track, trying to see what's going to work, what can save the tires. A lot of experimentation right now from the 4 car. We'll see how it plays out for him as we go further in the run. Maybe he's going to find out a tire-saving strategy, what's going to work best here. Right now, top 5 all playoff drivers. Jolene Sims leads the field. She's currently led every lap, had a great start and hasn't looked back. But Drew Jua in second, trying to see if he can close up that gap. JT Sipes right now side by side with Jared Talmadge for third. And then Min Hang rounding out the top 5. And they're dooring as they come through 1 and 2. That is the 16 and the 81, JT Sipes and Jared Talmadge. That's going to hold them up a good bit as we go down the backstretch. And you can see Jared Talmadge getting the elbows out here as they go down into turn 3. They're riding on board with Jared Talmadge. He's going to get clear of JT Sipes. Sipes going to see if he can carry some extra speed out of the corner. We're going to see them pushing real hard down the front stretch. They're on board with the 16 of Jared Talmadge. Now, maybe Sipes has burned up his stuff a little bit. We'll have to see, though. Min Hang seems to be hanging back as well. And usually we see Min Hang. He's one of those drivers that loves to push, 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 push. But right now, hanging back, so maybe that's the strategy he's going for. Maybe he just doesn't have that pace that he quite expected coming into this race. But we'll have to wait and see what his call is, because now we're going to start seeing the tire wear here across the next maybe, I would say 10 to 15 laps. You'll start to really see a drop off here from the drivers. But one driver to take a look at here, currently riding out in 6th place. He is kind of like on a tear right now. That is, Tim Moore. Tim Moore went from about 3 seconds back, now finds himself within 2 seconds of Jolene Sims, is just about a second away from that top 5. So give it a little bit longer, and I think we're going to see Tim Moore join that group and make it the top 6 instead of the top 5 as he comes down to the front stretch. Is going to be just maybe barely in that draft. You see him following Min Hang's line, seeing if he can get a little bit of extra toe, a little bit of speed down the front stretch. But he's been finding some really good pace. It wasn't a great start for him, but usually we've seen Tim Moore be a great strategist throughout these races. So we'll see if that's going to be the case here again, if this is going to be a strategy that pays off for him. Tim Moore, one of the many drivers in the playoffs, still looking for their first win. So tonight could be that opportunity. He knew Vegas was going to be one of them. He had it circled on his calendar. He really likes a lot of the intermediate ovals, so this 2-miler might just suit his style, as right now it seems to be paying off for him greatly, as he's now about 3/4 of a second away from Min Hang and closing that gap pretty quick, about 0.2 of a second faster than each of the top 5 drivers. Going on board, you can take a look here of how he's driving the track and what is making the 69 car so fast, doing a really good job just getting the car to rotate. Is not pushing the entry, is able to get the rotation around, and the car just rides smooth out on exit. He gained himself another 0.2 that lap, now a 0.5 second back from Min Hang, and he's going to continue to fight here coming up shortly. But take a look up front. We have a change for the lead possibly. Drew Jua outside of Jolene Sims, and Jolene Sims has led every lap so far here tonight. But Drew Jua looks like he might be changing that narrative as they go down the backstretch. It's going to be a drag race to turn 3. And we've seen right now the outside line becoming the more dominant line. Jolene Sims on the inside, the car running tight. She can't hold that pace. As now Jared Talmadge takes a look to the inside. Is it going to be a 2-for-1 here as they both are going to jump Jolene Sims? So in one lap, we go from Jolene Sims in first, now back to third, even possibly dropping to 4th place as JT Sipes on the inside. Jared Talmadge is now up to 2nd. Drew Jua is your race leader, leading his first lap for tonight. And say hello, top 5, to Tim Moore, as he is right on the back bumper of Min Hang. Side by side again, JT Sipes, Jared Talmadge. These guys have been fighting a good bit throughout these opening laps. Doors again, as the comments were already made over the radio between the two of them when they doored the first time. Oh, a big wiggle from Jared Talmadge there as Jolene Sims gives a bit of a bump there. Don't think he was quite ready for it. And right now, Min Hang, Tim Moore hanging out, just kind of waiting to see where this goes. Min Hang Waiting patiently. Tim Moore there, you can see, looking for that clean air. Oh, that is a sideways JT Sipes. Min Heng collected him. Tim Moore also got tagged in that. All that work from Tim Moore. And it took us, we were green for 24 laps. I'm not sure if Sipes got loose or if Min Heng cut it off too tight. Not sure what had happened there, but we'll go take a look again from a wider angle, a better angle to be able to view how those two got contact with each other. So taking a look from our blimp angle, you can see JT Sipes gets down in on the corner. A slight checkup from Jolene Sims. And I think it was just JT Sipes didn't realize they were 3 wide. We'll go back here again and watch that one more time. We could slow it down. So you take a look at JT Sipes coming off the corner. We'll slow it down once we get closer to the exit. There's that slight checkup. Jared Tallmadge checks up. So does Jolene. And that forces JT to have to check up right here. We take a look. You can see they're just about 3 wide. It was a good call from Min Heng not to open up all the way to the wall, because then that would have taken Tim Moore out into the wall. But then at the same time, I don't think JT Sipes realized they were 3 wide because they were just all barely there. Yeah, and that's when it collected them and sent them to the wall. So unfortunately, all 3 drivers probably will be using their fast repair here for this wreck. Taking a look, Drew Jua leading the field down to the pits. A long road down here for this one. Hopefully you guys are having a great night so far. Hopefully you're enjoying the broadcast. And Tim Moore, I think I'm not sure what happened there from the 69, but he just full sent it into the inside pit wall. But taking a look as they come out of the pits, Brad Qualls is going to be your race leader. That is an interesting play here. So Brad Qualls takes the lead here for the first time tonight. He might get a black flag, though, as the right side tires came onto the racing surface there. So that would be listed as an unsafe pit exit. But we'll have to wait and see. But we are halfway to the halfway point. Lap 50 is where we take our stage points. And we'll go through our mid-race breakdown. But so far throughout this race, things looking really, really good. Nice, clean driving. Unfortunately, that wreck, I think, probably could have been easily avoided. But that was a tough call to make because the cars were so close to being 3 wide. It's just barely an edge off. It looks like Brad Qualls coming down pit road again. We also have JT Sipes and Jimmy Amos all coming down pit road another time. It looks like Min Heng and Tyler Glatz also hanging out on pit road a little bit longer. See the 8 car. And the 2 somehow just barely beats them off pit road. Now I'm assuming Min Heng probably had to go somewhere really quickly. Because the car, I mean, it had some damage, but you would think he just used a fast repair. We'll see when he comes around. It actually doesn't look like he used... I don't think he used the fast repair. It looks like the car still has some damage. Yeah, I think that right side is still crinkled along the door. Kind of hard to tell from the angle. Let's take a little bit of zoom here. Let's zoom in on that 2 car. Yeah, that right side is still crinkled up. So he opted not to use his fast repair. Very interesting there from Min Heng. We'll see if it's going to affect him on aero. This track, very, very important to be able to keep that aero up. Maximize your speed, especially through the corners. Any damage might slow you down, but we'll have to see how it plays out for Min Heng, driver of the 2 car. As we get ready to go green flag racing again, we are 2x2. Drew Jua in the lead. Jolene Sims on the inside. Benny, the pace car driver, is off. And we are ready to go. Green flag racing yet again for they call it Pop 200. They get ready to go through the Geico restart zone. And they are off. A good jump from Drew Jua. Jared Talmadge going to see if he can follow in behind. But as you can see, Drew Jua trying to stay a little bit in between the lanes. Not really giving either driver an advantage. Trying to use them against each other. Less than 25 laps to go to our mid-race break. Who's going to be able to win that halfway point? Jolene Sims was the fastest driver for about the first 20 laps. But then she came back to the field rather quickly and fell through pretty fast. As you can see, she's going to make a move for the race lead all the way to the inside. Drew's going to force her to go all the way to the bottom. You can see there's a reason why a lot of drivers try to avoid that as she goes in on entry. Not a lot of grip. That car wiggles a lot, and she has to quickly get back in line so Jared Talmadge doesn't just blow the doors off of her down the front stretch. Lots of really tight racing further behind as well, but Jolene Sims trying to see if she can make another move for the lead. Try and see if she can gain a little bit of time through the corner and then push in turn 3 as she comes off the backstretch. Right on the back bumper of the 4-car, 3 wide. Further behind is going to be Tim Moore, JT Sipes. Sorry, not JT Sipes. Tim Moore, Jonathan Amodio, Colin Teague, all 3 wide. And now you see Ryan Miniker included in that 3 wide. JT Sipes on the inside of Tim Moore. The 3. Oh, there's a wreck. Tim Moore. Tim Moore. Jonathan Amodio had gotten wide. Then Tim Moore gets collected by Min Hang and gets turned on the front stretch. A little bit of a checkup, a little bit of confusion there. And Min Hang accidentally turns the 69, and that is unfortunate for him, and that might be his race. He hit the outside wall on the nose, but we'll see. It doesn't look like there's damage somehow. But it might have affected something internally on the car. But let's take a look here at the replay. Three wide coming around turn 4. We're going to slow it down here. You can see Jonathan Amodio. The car gets loose. He saves it, but sends it to the outside wall. Everybody checks up a little bit. Min Hang, though, not sure what he was looking for. Maybe a gap there, but that's what ends up turning Tim Moore. We'll look back again. We'll go on board here with the 2-car to see what his viewpoint was of this. So taking a look here on board with Min Hang. Come through 3-4. You see Jonathan Amodio gets the wiggle there. You see the cars check up, jut down. There goes Ryan Miniker. And yeah, he just didn't check up there. Caught the quarter panel of Tim Moore and turned him to the outside wall. So just not holding up quick enough. That's all that was. Unfortunate incident there for Tim Moore. I was running really well early on, but that very well could be his race. We'll see how the damage is. It looks like it was just maybe a fuel run, as he's only in for about 8 seconds. So we'll see how that affects him. Make sure you join us next Saturday night as we will be having our second round of the playoffs. We go to Richmond, Virginia for the Richmond International Raceway in our first short track of the playoffs. So we'll have that. Then we go to Talladega. Then we go road course racing at the Charlotte Roval. Then we go to Phoenix for our penultimate race of the season, and our season championship will be at Chicagoland. If you guys are enjoying some of this NASCAR style racing, make sure you join us over on Tuesday nights. We have the American Motorsports Association late model stock cars. They go short track racing all over the East Coast. And we actually had a break last week, but this coming Tuesday, we go to, I believe it's Langley or Lanier, I can't remember which, but we are going to one of those two for our second Dash for Cash qualifier. Drivers get a chance to win $100 if they win the Dash for Cash. Actually, in that series, we have 2 drivers that are real-life winners, like Landon Huffman. He was a winner in the Cars Tour just a couple weekends ago and found himself $30,000 richer after that race. You can catch drivers like that And I believe Robertson was the other driver who was won at Bowman Gray Stadium and was able to take home the feature race of the night in the late model stocks as well. So now it becomes a really interesting race here for Tim Moore in the 69. That car, unfortunately, is back in 11th place. He was able to work himself up earlier, had really good pace. But now with the car getting turned, he's now down a tire set. Don't know if he took that second tire set. We'll see how that car is going to react. If he's going to have that pace still that he had earlier and now has to work through the field yet again. Not a great start for him, but still plenty of time to bounce back if that car is still in good shape. Jolene Sims, Jared Talmadge, the front row here. Jolene Sims, the race leader. Then you've got Colin Teague, James Mendez in the second row. Take a little bit further back, all the way back to 8th place. That is where Drew Jua, your current points leader at the start of the night, is back in 8th. Pace car is off. We go through the Geico restart zone, and we are green flag racing as Jolene Sims leads us across the line. We got Colin Teague behind, but there's a big enough gap that Jared Talmadge is able to squeeze on in. And that's going to cause a slight check up there in front of Colin Teague as you almost see him get run over by the 92 of James Mendez. We haven't seen Mendez up front yet tonight. We'll see how his car runs. The same with Colin Teague. They've got to hold off JT Sipes, Tyler Glass, and Drew Jua behind. We go through turns 3 and 4. Jolene Sims pulling away a little bit here from Jared Talmadge. A little bit of a slide there from the 51, and you have to keep in mind, a lot of these drivers, Colin Teague is loose. Same with the 92 of James Mendez. They're able to save it, though, staying on the bottom here around the tri-oval. That's going to allow JT Sipes and Drew Jua to work their way through. As I was just getting ready to say, the tires not up to temp for those that came on, for everybody, because everybody pitted under that first caution. The tires hadn't come to temp yet. They weren't quite hot. And there's another contact. That is going to be Tyler Glass, another playoff driver, off into the apron. He got loose, making contact with Min Hang out of turn 2. He was working his way up the field, falls back to now 11th place. Sipes and Jua, they are trying to see if they can push and catch up to Talmadge and Sims as both drivers, both pairs, trying to work together. As you see, Jua actually, never mind, he's going to try to go to the inside of Sipes. It's going to only slow them down. So if you are Talmadge and Sims, you are enjoying that view in your rear view as both of those drivers set their fastest time of the race. That's going to allow them to keep pulling away if Jua and Sipes are going to fight behind. Min Hang has worked his way up. He's now in 5th place, seeing if he can join these two, make it a 3-way fight for 3rd. Then you have behind Min Hang, James Mendez and Colin Teague. Tim Moore has worked his way up from 11th to 8th right now, seeing if he can join this pack as well. The nice thing is if these guys are able to get things organized, they should be able to catch those leaders up front. And you can even see Jua working with Sipes now. Bump drafting, almost tandem drafting, going down the backstretch. Well, they've got a lot of time to get figured out. They're over a second back from Jolene and Jarrett, as Jared Talmadge just set the fastest lap of the race with a 39.2. And Jua may be working here with Sipes. Somehow communicates, let me through. I might be the faster driver. We're going to see what's going to happen. If they're going to try and catch these guys, maybe this is the way. Drivers behind not quite closing up, I think, the way they expected. I think they were hoping to close up a little bit quicker than this. Min Hang still hanging back about, I would say, 0.3 of a second behind. Same with Mendez and Teague, but oh my goodness, going all the way to the bottom. Everybody opting for the apron that time around the front stretch. Trying to use every inch of this track, and actually Drew Jua setting the fastest lap that last race as he worked his way around JT Sipes that lap. Trying to see if he can close up on the leaders. It looks like he might be gaining a little bit, maybe a half a tenth a lap right now. But needs a lot more of a push from the drivers behind, I think, if they are going to try and catch up with the race leaders. Looking behind these guys, though, currently the battle for 6th place. James Mendez, Colin Teague, a playoff driver, non-playoff driver, is Teague. Gonna just settle in behind, and that's probably the smartest move at this point. You just want to settle in, see what you can do with these tires, see if you can save it for a little bit later as the race seems to be spreading out. And that was Tim Moore's strategy earlier. It paid off in dividends whenever he was able to get those tires nice and warm and really push about, it was like 15, 18 laps in. And you can see maybe he's opting for that similar strategy here, currently riding out in 8th place behind Teague, Mendez, and Hang. We kind of split off into 4 different groups right now. You've got your race leaders of Jolene Sims and Jared Talmadge. Then a little bit further behind, they are closing up. It's still a bit of a gap, over a second away, but they're closing up a little bit more and more each and every lap. Drew Ju and JT Sipes. Then further back from that is this group of 4, Min Hang, James Mendez, Colin Teague, and Tim Moore. And then you go back even further, you've got Tyler Glass, Jared Newton, and Brad Qualls. Those are the packs right now that we've got running, but it looks like Tyler Glass might be pulling away from these guys behind him. Taking a look back at Drew Jua, you can see right in front of him. That's the lap times we've seen across the past few laps. Drew's been about a tenth, like I said, anywhere between a half a tenth to a tenth faster each lap, maybe even a tenth and a half a couple times. You saw lap 39, lap 37, he was over a tenth faster. That gap is slowly closing, and they're pretty much within the tow right now, but that last lap, maybe not quite the lap he wanted. As you see, ran split even. They ran identical times between the two of them that last lap. But he is trying to catch up. But then you can take a look. If we go back to Min Hang, this group slowing down a good bit. Not sure what is happening here. If it's maybe just the fact that Teague and Mendez were fighting, or it could be that Hang's car is damaged and it's slowing them down. The fact that it would be that much would be surprising me, though. That's a half a second a lap. That's a significant gap to be losing each and every lap. And again, it is just continuing to widen as they come across the line this time. That'll be a 39.9 for Min Hang, still 4/10 slower than the drivers in front in 4th and 3rd. So my guess is Min Hang's damage is affecting me. You see him get loose out of the corner. I think that might have been Colin Teague taking the air off that back bumper. Mendez to check up, goes to the inside line. Will he push there for the position? It looks like he might. A little bit of a wiggle for Min Hang again. Those rears starting to go off on him. It looks like a little bit of trouble. That's one thing we've seen from Min Hang throughout the season. Great short run pace. He's a great short run driver. But there's some tracks when it comes to the long run, he just does not have it. Charlotte, he had it. Auto Club, it was a little bit rougher for him. Here tonight, he doesn't quite seem to have that long run pace, but we'll see. Damage card doesn't always help. Maybe we'll get another caution that will give him more time to get that damage repaired, or even use that faster bear. As you look behind, now we see in the rear view, Tyler Glass and company are getting to make this a pack rather than just 2 different lines. Checking back with our race leaders as we get closer and closer to lap 50. Only 5 laps away. Jolene Sims and Jared Talmadge. That gap still sits at about a second back to Drew Jua. He seems to have slowed down from here. Not quite keeping that same pace that he did throughout the beginning run of the run, I mean. It almost seems like Jolene Sims might be getting faster as we go. She seems to be gaining confidence. Something we saw, she was really fast out the gate in the opening stint. Then just all of a sudden the tires dropped off. We're about 20 laps into the run, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting her right now. She's still running really strong here. We get closer and closer to lap 50. But could this be a strategy play here from Jua and Sipes, just waiting out, trying to see if they can save those tires? Same thing with Talmadge. Is he holding back instead of pushing? We've seen some strategy plays from a lot of these drivers before. Jolene Sims, there's been some rough calls for her when it comes to strategy. However, she has been getting a lot better throughout the middle part of the season and even the end of the regular season for the races she was able to attend. But we'll see if it's going to be able to work out here for her tonight as she continues to hold on to this race lead as we get closer and closer to lap 50. Further back, you can see Colin Teague and James Mendez along with Tyler Glass. Oh, that is a James Mendez loose on the apron. Every time I mention somebody back here, it seems like they get loose. Now it's going to be Colin Teague alongside Tyler Glass, as Tyler Glass seems to be fighting really, really strong. Back up to the top 5, he can get clear of Colin Teague. Yeah, that's going to be back up to his highest spot of the night. Even though he had that contact with Min Heng on the backstretch earlier, able to get himself back into the top 5. We'll see if he's going to be able to hold off the rest of the field as Ryan Miniker is going to get used here for a little bit of draft on the entry there from the 8 car. Cuts the exit a bit hard, and that almost causes him to break loose again. They're going to work their way. They're going to snake around the 48 of Ryan Miniker. And we are now just 2 laps closer to our stage break. Remember, stage break, we still go green flag racing. We do not bring out the caution. It's lap 49 now, so just one more lap till we get to the stage. Quite the fight we've got further behind Min Heng, Tim Moore side by side for 9th place. But it seems like Tim just trying to get this car home at this point. He's been in 2 incidents now. Doesn't want to get involved in another. He's going to try and be there when it counts at the end of the race. You can see he's just driving very cautiously, very, very smooth as we see Jolene Sims coming around the backstretch through turns 3 and 4. And unless she does something to the car here at the exit, yeah, she's going to hold on. That's going to be the stage win for her. Jolene Sims, your stage win of the first one of the playoffs. A great win for her. And we're going to go through our mid-race break. A moment to show you where everybody is on track. You can see where all your favorite drivers are running. Right now in first, you're right now leader in most laps led, as well as the race, is Jolene Sims. Jared Talmadge currently riding out in 2nd place. And he seems like he's just kind of hanging out there. He's fallen off a little bit from Jolene Sims, but I think that might be just trying to see if he can give himself some clean air. Drew Jua, as he gets loose off the exit in 4th place. On the outside of Drew is JT Sipes. He's now 3rd place. He moves himself up in position there. We go back to 5th place. Rounding out the top 5 right now is Tyler Glass, and he seems to be getting quicker and quicker. We'll see if he can catch up to the leaders. He's got a while to go, though, as they're over 4.5 seconds back from Drew Jua. In 6th place, another playoff driver, the 92, James Mendez. He's been working his way up through the field. We'll see if he continues that climb. In 7th place, our first non-playoff driver, the 51, Colin Teague, has been having himself a pretty good run here. We'll see if he can continue to push, as he is one of the drivers trying to fight for the hard charger as well. And now on the inside, Jared Newton. We're going to see if he can try and move himself into 7th place. Also a non-playoff driver. Min Heng, get back to the playoff drivers. Currently rides around in 9th place. Tim Moore is in 10th place. Just waiting to get that car home at this point. I think he is just not very happy with how things have gone for him. It's not the best start to the run, but there's still plenty of time to go in this race. If there is a late caution, he can definitely be there when it counts. In 13th, we've got, in 11th, we have the 13. That is Brad Qualls. He's just kind of been quietly waiting as we see Colin Teague dip down to the inside. That's going to be a pit stop for him. Looks like he's going to take his pit, I guess we need to take pit stops already. I didn't think we'd be taking them only about 20 laps into the run. I guess we're 25 laps into the run. 1 lap down, we've got Jimmy Amos. He's currently in 12th place. Jonathan Amodio Haven't really seen him too much. That car's still beat up on that right front. It almost doesn't look like the car is, that right front's making contact with the ground, as it looks like it's lifted at some angles. But he is currently 13th. He finds himself a lap down right now as well. Then you've got Ryan Miniker. He finds himself 2 laps down. He's just trying to see if he can hold on to this car, maybe take advantage if there's another wreck, and maybe gain a spot or 2. So that is your mid-race break here for tonight. A look where we get a chance to see where every driver is out on track. While we were doing that, though, the battle for the lead is getting interesting. JT Sipes and crew all catching up to Jolene Sims. And where have we seen this story before? We saw a very similar 3-wide move this time from Drew Jua. He is going to send it down to the inside. JT Sipes going to try and cross back. He's going to be able to pull off the move on Drew Jua as Jolene is going to dip down to the pits. Wow, what a move. We'll have to go back and watch that pass because that was a wild sequence of corners there. As we came down the backstretch, we saw at least a fight for first from 2 drivers. I did not expect it to be 3. And through all that spectacle, Drew Jua doesn't really go anywhere on track. He stays in 3rd place. As they fight, let's go back. I want to see that from this angle here. Let's go from a nice blimp view so you can see the whole look of everything. As you can see, Jolene Sims into the lead. She runs a little tight on the exit, so that's where she's like, yeah, we probably need to bring this car down if we get the chance. But look at this move from Drew Jua. A bold move, sends it down to the inside, rips that bottom line, and uses a little bit of a slide job to get ahead of JT Sipes. But then as we continue to go through the corner, because he sent it so hard, the car runs tight. JT Sipes gets much better rotation. Then out of nowhere, we see Jared Talmadge sneak in and is able to capitalize on Drew being really aggressive there. So while we're taking a look at that sequence, Jared Talmadge now coming down pit road. Drew Jua is also going to join him on the following lap. JT Sipes continues to lead the race. So it looks like we got about 25 laps to 30 laps worth of fuel, at least on this run. So drivers will probably need to come back down around lap 75, lap 30 in that realm if they want to try and make it to the end of the race. Assuming there is no cautions, though, we'll have to wait and see how things play out. Jared Talmadge rejoins right in front of the race leader, JT Sipes, but it sounds like he's going to be coming down pit road on this lap as well. Looking further behind, Minhang, Mendez, Newton, all still fighting for position. A little bit further back, Tim Moore as well. All these drivers still electing to stay out, so that moves them up. Minhang, now your race leader. For how long is he going to opt to stay out? Now, we've seen Tim Moore many times go for this overcut. It rarely has paid off for him. I'm surprised to see him going for this strategy yet again. I figured he would want to respond with the leaders. But I guess he's hoping for maybe a caution to come out. That'll give him a chance to get a fresh set of tires without having to come down pit road under green. We'll see, though, who's going to come down first out of this pack of 3. Newton, Min, Hang, and Tim Moore. Now, your current fight for the provisional lead, Jolene Sims, is coming around turns 1 and 2 now. He was the first one to come down pit road under green. Currently is your race leader. If you take out these 3 that have stayed out longest, currently they have stayed out about 3 laps longer than the rest of the field. Nice thing about the way that Tim Moore has been running, he's been in the draft the whole time, so he's been able to save a lot of fuel. Makes me wonder how much longer can he go out on this race than some of the other drivers that have been running up front or pushing really hard, because we haven't seen Tim Moore push too much. As he's now up to the race lead, he's going to lead a lap here, coming around with now 41 to go. Jared Newton going to try and pass him on the inside, and honestly, Tim Moore, I think he's probably okay with that at this point. Not really fighting, just trying to drive the car nice and smooth. You can see Mendez coming through. If you see these faster cars, the best option is honestly just let them by on the easiest lane possible. As you can see, Tim Moore going to drop to the bottom. We're going to see Mendez take that outside line. It's got a lot of grip on the new tires. And he'll be able to get clear nice and easily. So Tim Moore actually works out to his advantage. You can see he hops in behind. Is going to try and see if he can use that draft to get a little bit of extra pace, as well as save a little bit more fuel now heading down into turns 1 and 2. So as they continue to drive on, taking a look where Jolene Sims is on track. She currently is your provisional race leader, as long as we go through the full green flag pit cycle. But we'll see how things play out, because if Tim Moore continues to stay out and is able to really save this car, and he gets a caution, that's really going to benefit him. Ryan Miniker down in pit road, but there you go. Jerry Newton also down pit road. We didn't see him in the viewpoint, so my assumption was that he came down, but you never know. So at this point, Tim Moore, Jimmy Amos, the only drivers that have stayed out that have not come down pit road, but I would assume we see them very, very shortly. 39 laps to go, and we'll see if we can continue to make it green flag racing's drivers still have to make one more stop, so this race becoming a strategy run at this point. Who's going to have the race-winning strategy? Is it the undercut of Jolene Sims? Is it going to be the overcut of Tim Moore? Currently, he is about 1 second slower than that of Jolene. You can take a look at the lap times here. Over the past several laps, he's anywhere between 1 to 1.5 seconds slower than Jolene Sims. And the thing is, he's not going to be that much faster when he comes out on fresh tires. So will the cost outweigh the reward, or will it be the other way around? We'll have to wait and see what the consequences are of Tim Moore's actions, whether they be good or bad. That 69 machine's still running strong as he's going to continue to drive it around, picking off laps led. You can even see trying to limit the track that he has to use coming out of turn 4. Trying to maximize as much pace as he can at this point. That lap might have been even slower. Yeah, 41.5. And that'll probably be almost 2 seconds slower than Jolene Sims. It just shows how powerful that draft is, though. That's the thing. So is this going to be the lap for Tim Moore? Will he come down pit road? Yes, he will. So finally, coming down pit road, lap, I believe, 63, 64, when he finally opts to come down pit road. So we'll see where he comes out. He came down, when the pit road cycle started, he was back in 8th. And he was about, I think they were about 6 seconds back or so from the leaders at that point of the race. We'll see how far he goes through this pit stop. I'm assuming he's going to have a net loss of time. But will those tires have the pace when everybody else's have fallen off? Because now Jolene Sims, Drew Jua have been racing on these tires for about, I think, 10 so laps now at this point. Which Drew Jua, actually, here's an interesting point to make. I didn't realize Drew Jua was a lap down. He was in pit road for almost a whole minute and a half. So my thought is that he probably got caught for speeding. Same with Tyler Glass, as both drivers served very similar times on pit road. So they find themselves currently 9th and 11th, respectively, 1 lap down. As the race continues on, we're going to take a moment to shut off the mic and crank up the sound. That way you can hear all of Michigan International Speedway and get the sights and sounds here at MIS. I hope you enjoyed the sights and sounds of Michigan International Speedway. And riding on board with Tim Moore, I'm not sure if you heard or saw, we got something very interesting out of the 69 car. He is clutching on the entry of corners, driving through 5th gear, obviously. But yeah, clutching on entries, a really interesting move to save fuel this early. So it looks like the 69 might be trying to stretch this fuel run as far as he can and try and just take a splash and dash at the end of the race. So this is a really interesting call. Probably one of the few, if not the only drivers on this strategy. As you take a look, a bit of a cluster up here. You've got Tim Moore, Tyler Glass, and then you also have Jared Newton further ahead. Newton and Tyler Glass both a lap down. So you can see Tim Moore just kind of letting them do their thing. He's not worried about it. He is on the newest tires, but is also not really worried about trying to fight. He's more focused on saving these tires. He's one of the slower drivers right now on track. I think that's more by choice than it is just by the car and the way it's driving, because we've seen him be very, very quick here tonight. We're getting closer and closer to the end of this race. Less than 30 to go now. 28 laps remaining. And your race leader, Jolene Sims, she's holding on real strong. Jared Talmadge currently sits back in second, but he is currently almost 3 seconds behind. JT Sipes rounds out the top 3, and from there, it is a massive gap back to Minhang and Colin Teague to round out the top 5. Jolene Sims looking to lock up her second win of the season here if she can get this victory. But still one more pit stop for her at least, because there's no way these cars are going to go 50 laps on fuel. 54 was the lap she came in on. And actually, you can take a look here at the pit stop lap for all these different drivers. So you can see there's a wide mix of strategy throughout the top 6. You have the first 2, Sims and Talmadge, came down earliest, along with Colin Teague. Teague kind of kicked off the playoff run, or not the playoff run, the pit stop run. But then you also have Minhang and JT Sipes and Mendez all opting to stay out a couple laps longer. Minhang stretched his the longest, going to lap 59 there. So we'll see how that plays off for him. I don't think he's going to make it. The only driver I think that maybe could stretch for just a splash and dash would be Tim Moore. At this point, he's doing a really good job of saving. So right now we've got the battle for 5th place. Speaking of Colin Teague and James Mendez. Mendez just doesn't seem to have the pace. Those tires 5 laps older than that of Mendez. I meant Teague. 5 laps older than Mendez. That car just seems to have fallen off on pace. You can see he is long gone at this point. Jared Talmadge, JT Sipes, though, getting back together. And these guys have been fighting all day long. They've been bumping. They've been beaten. So we'll see how they fight here. This is a really interesting point of the race for them. They are 2.5, 2.25 seconds back now from Jolene Sims. If they work together, I think they'll be able to catch her. But the question is, will they work together? I think they will at this point. They need to if they want to try and get to the front. But never mind. Sipes says, see ya. I'm going to the inside. Works his way around Jared Talmadge very easily. But could that be a strategy play from them? As you see, they both go to the inside here on the front stretch. It'll all depend on what Talmadge does here going through turns 1 and 2. Does he look for the pass? He does not. He decides he's going to ride it out. And we've seen Talmadge be a team player here tonight, not really being an aggressor unless he needs to. Sitting back here, a really good idea. I mean, also think of it this way. Talmadge, currently second in the points. He's got himself 3 race wins. He currently is up a good spot. The points leader is back in 9th. You're currently in 3rd. And you're, I believe, if I remember correctly, 23 points behind that of Drew Jua. So this is a great spot to be in. even if you don't win the race, a third place while he gets ninth place is a phenomenal day in terms of the playoffs. Drivers quickly catching up to Jolene Sims, though, 2/10 a lap faster that last lap. As if we take a look here at JT Sipes' times with Jolene Sims, you can see they've been quickly catching her. Those lap times have dropped off significantly for Jolene Sims, anywhere from a quarter to half a second a lap. Jolene Sims comes down pit road, 22 to go. Same with Jared Talmadge. He opts down as well. So JT Sipes by himself yet again. He was the last, or one of the later ones to pit on the first pit cycle. Min Heng, interesting, he went so long earlier, is one of the first to come down this time around. James Mendez assumes second place. We'll see Tim Moore assume third place as he comes around the start-finish line. So now the question is from Tim Moore, how long does this car go without needing fuel? That's the big question at this point. Take a look on board here with the 69, and we'll take a listen. Does he clutch on the entry? Yeah, that car it's almost like he's shutting off the car the way he's getting into the corner, trying to maximize the amount of fuel he's using each lap. And it's a really smart idea from Tim. He hasn't had any luck trying to win the races outright. See if you can win it on strategy. You know it's a smaller field. You know it's going to become a strategy race. He's lifting so early. Typically, you hear drivers, they start to turn around, they turn in, they lift around the traffic light there, the caution light going into turn one. Even here, you see these signs, these red signs, the white sign right there. Typically where drivers will start to let off. He lets off even earlier. He's doing every ounce that he can to save fuel in this car. He came down lap 64. Only 15 laps later do we see Jolene Sims come down. They made it about 20 laps on fuel on race 8. So we'll see how far Tim Moore can stretch it. He currently has about, it looks like 8 seconds back to Jolene Sims. So if you remember back to when he came down pit road the first time, he was about, I think it was 22 seconds ahead. So through that pit stop, through everything, he's lost about 15 seconds. Well, actually, yeah. He's lost about 15 seconds. So the strategy isn't more focused on pace. It's more focused on, can we get to the end of the race? So we'll see what's going to happen if Tim Moore's going to be able to get that done. He's trying to use teammate Ryan Miniker to his advantage. You can see he's continuing to ride that draft in front of him. It's a smart move, honestly. So at this point, everybody's pretty much come down pit road. You can see the only drivers that haven't come down pit road for their second green flag stop would be Tim and Jared Newton. But Jared Newton not really in the fight here for the race win. Finds himself almost a lap down. You can see James Mendez here. He pitted on lap 81. I know he's not quite in that view, but he is the last driver to come down pit road for the second time. We've got a wide mix of strategies here. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out from Tim. Could Mendez have something? He's had good pace, but he currently is pretty far back from that of like Jolene and Jared Talmadge. So unless caution comes out, I think right now our race winner is somewhere in the top 3. Will Tim have the fuel in the car to make it to the end? Will he be able to fight at the end of the race? Does Jolene have the pace to catch up and hold on without the tires falling off? Does Jared Talmadge have the speed to try and catch Jolene? He currently is about 3 seconds behind her. Gonna take a quick look where he's at on track. He's coming down the backstretch. He's actually, my bad. He is closer to 5 seconds behind Jolene, so he's got a while to go. while they basically are on the same strategy, so their tires both about the same at this point. You can take a look where everybody is currently at on track. The top right has our track map. And it's listed by their car number. So you can see the 69. Tim Moore getting ready to cross the start-finish line. And there's Jolene Sims coming out of turn 4. Then a good bit further behind is 16 as he comes out of turn 4. There is Jared Talmadge. So there's that gap. You can visibly see about how far away each driver is from each other. And so right now, that gap between the 6 and the 69 getting closer and closer. Now less than 4.5 seconds, 14 laps to go. And you can just see between Jolene Sims and Tim Moore how much she's gaining each lap. For a while it was about a second. Seems to be about a half second to a second at this point. Per lap is how much she is gaining on Tim Moore. But that last lap, I'm not too sure about it. Seems like maybe that tire wear is starting to hit her a little bit, or maybe his tires are finally coming in because he was driving so soft, so smooth and easy throughout the beginning part of his stint. But now it seems like he's found the pace, running 39.9s. And currently at the pace, she's 4 seconds back. If she gains even, we'll say, a half-tenth a lap, she still needs 8 laps to catch him. And that leaves her with just 5 laps to pass him. This might be the race-winning strategy for Tim Moore. Will he get his first win here tonight? And we'll see across the line this time. I think Jolene may be gaining about 3/10. That margin of gain that she has had has just been pretty consistent. There were a couple laps that it was real high, but then that's been about it. Even taking a look, you can see in the gap from each other. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I don't think I have that one here. My apologies. Yeah, you do. Take a look across the last several laps. You can see how that gap has shrunk. It went from 6 seconds, but it's only gone down to 3.5 at this point. It's been pretty steady, but by the time she catches him, we're going to be probably less than 5 to go. If it continues to follow this trend, she still could hit the tire drop off at any point. So things right now seem to be working in Tim Moore's advantage as he hit a 39.6 the last lap. Jolene Sims, Tim Moore hit a 39.8. Jolene Sims hit a 39.6. But again, it comes down to the big question. Does Tim Moore have fuel? Will he be able to make it to the end? Right on board again with Tim Moore. You hear the way he's driving. Is he still lifting in the corners? Yeah, notice the big change in the way he's driving the car. He went from clutching the entries on the corners to now he's just driving like normal. There's a reason that gap between him and Jolene Sims went from dropping real fast to now all of a sudden it just fits. He must have hit that number. He must have been able to save enough that magic number went from red to green on the fuel reserves. Coming across the line this time, it'll be 9 to go for Tim Moore, your race leader. It's not been much. We've been able to say that. Will we be able to say it at the end, though, and he get his first win here on the iRacing side of things? I know he is currently clutching that wheel real tight, really excited, hoping to come home with a victory, but he's still got several laps to go. Anything can happen. We could see a caution because there is currently a fight on track between Colin Teague and James Mendez. They're back at it again, fighting for 6th place. Very important position for James Mendez, as he could definitely gain a couple spots in the playoffs based on this race. He's currently ahead of Ryan Miniker, Jonathan Modio, and Tyler Glass, so can find himself up ahead of each of those drivers if he's able to hold on to the 6th place position. But everybody else seems pretty much locked into their spot for tonight's race. The only driver maybe able to make a change would be Jolene Sims, but it seems like her gain on Tim Moore has kind of come to a standstill. Across the line, we are 8 to go. She gained about 3/10 that last lap on Tim Moore, but it's still over 2 seconds away. Even if she continues to gain at a 3/10 time, you're talking 7 laps. She gets maybe a lap to try and pass Tim Moore. It seems like he has just thought this out so well, playing this out perfectly, and might have just locked himself in for the win, given some shenanigans on throughout the rest of the field. You can see Jolene Sims pushing this car as hard as she can, everything she's got in her, as she is trying to close that gap. Less than 2 seconds. Tim Moore coming down pit road. He does not have enough fuel. That is heartbreaking for the 69. I think he might have been hoping for the caution. And I'm not sure. Maybe he realized he wasn't going to be able to save enough. Maybe he didn't hit that magic number then. That must have been what happened. He went from clutching and realizing that he might be able to save it to, nope, it's not going to happen at this point. Push his car as hard as we can, hope for maybe a caution to fly. That is so unfortunate for Tim Moore, who was looking for his first race win of the season here in the VRC. But now Jolene Sims in control. She's looking for her second race win. Her first one came at Old Atlanta. Across the line, 5 to go. She has a 5-second lead over Jared Talmadge and 8 seconds on JT Sipes. So she is in a perfect situation, and she's got the OCM drivers surrounding her, but they're not on the lead lap. You have Tim Moore, who's currently a lap down, or not a lap down, but is close to be a lap down, and Drew Joa is a lap down. So this is huge for her to be able to leapfrog both in the points, or at least gain on Drew and pass up Tim Moore. Across the line, 4 laps to go for Jolene Sims as she is in control. Jared Talmadge is currently in second, JT Sipes third, Minhang fourth, James Mendez in fifth. All playoff drivers trying to see if they can jump some of the front runners. Jared Talmadge, this is a huge race for him if he holds on to second place, because he is currently second in the points to Drew Jua, who's back in 8th. And Tim Moore turns himself into a lawnmower, so things going from bad to worse as he drives through the front stretch grass. And I know he was frustrated earlier. It seemed like he had worked things out, but at this point, that is just a heartbreaking way this race is going to end for him. As we come around turns 3 and 4, Barney the flagman has the popsicle sticks out for Jolene Sims, signaling that they've got 2 to go across the line this time. Wonder if Jujua will elect to try and get his lap back. My guess would be yes. Not that it's really going to mean much for him, but we'll see what he decides to do. Jolene Sims comes through turns 1 and 2. And it's been a strong race for her, leading the most laps, being in control of the field for the majority of the race. Been really impressive to see what the driver of this 6 machine can do. As they come around turns 3 and 4 this time, Barney the flagman has the white out, and he's waving it. Final lap here for Jolene Sims. This race is official. Regardless of what happens, the next flag we're going to take is the checkered as Jolene lets by Tim Moore. Going to let the OCM boys fight for position. It is 7th place they are going to be battling for between Moore and Jua. Jolene Sims is going to get a front row seat. She's going to be eating her popcorn as she watches it. You can see Tim Moore on the inside. We'll check on that battle, though, after Jolene Sims crosses the line. Tim Moore sticks that bottom all the way through. Jolene Sims, though, going to drive that nice and easy through turns 3 and 4. And your first victor of the Season 10 playoffs in the OMA VRC is Jolene Sims, driver of the McGuinness Motorsports number 6. Tim Moore, though, holding on to 7th place. He's ahead of Drew Jewell. They still have one more lap to go as they did not take the checkered flag. Now looks like Drew just struggling here. Just hasn't been his race after he came down pit road the second time. Tim Moore's going to run away with 7th place. Not the position he wanted. No, he was hungry for that race win. There's all the drivers coming across the line here for the finish. Let's go take a look at our results for tonight's race. Jolene Sims, your race winner, coming across the line. She had herself a significant size gap back to second place would be Jarrett Talmadge. Then JT Sipes rounds out the top 3. Min Hang in 4th. So given all the things he had to fight with throughout the race, manages to bring his car just outside of the podium. James Mendez gets a top 5. That is a huge finish for him. Colin Teague, a non-playoff driver, finishes in 6th. A great run for him, and he's been seeing better results lately. Tim Moore is in 7th. Drew Jewell rounds out the lead lap cars. In 9th place, we have Brad Qualls, the first car lap down. Tyler Glass finishes out the top 10. Jared Newton in 11th. Jonathan Amodio in 12th, Ryan Miniker 13th, and then Jimmy Amos rounding out our field for tonight. So let's go take a look here. We're going to bring in some of our playoff drivers. Right now we've got Jarrett Talmadge. We'll go ahead and pull him in first since JT Sipes, even though he is our 3rd place driver. We'll go ahead and bring Jarrett on in. We've got Jarrett Talmadge, driver of the 16 car, finishing 6th place up here in the booth with us. And Jarrett, it was a good race that you had. You had some really good battling going on with JT for a while, but it just seemed like the strategy didn't quite play out for you.
Yeah, I don't really think it's strategy. I think it's just the guy behind the wheel and not knowing how to take pit road correctly. I had her covered. Once we hit 10 laps, I was faster, and I just lost 2.5, 3 seconds every time we did pit road. I threw that. That should have been a win. Threw it away.
Now, so what's so difficult about the pit road entry here? Is it the way that you have to just send it down pit road?
I guess apparently I was just braking way too early because, I mean, the one time we came down the same lap, she gapped me by almost 2 seconds just entering pit road. So I'm not sure. Didn't do a pit road practice because I figured it wouldn't matter, but I guess that's why I always do practice for something. But still got 2nd. Good points day. Beat Drew in the halfway. Beat him in the race, so it should get us closer for the playoffs there. And just pretty disappointed though that we didn't come away with the win at my hometown track.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been win number 4 for you on the season. Would have been huge. But like you said, a massive points day. You came in 23 points behind Drew Jewell, but beating them both on track at the end and at stage is going to be a significant gain for you. We'll see how close it brings you, but depending on how Richmond goes, it could bring you possibly up to the points lead. We'll see.
Yeah, I should. I think where did he end up? I think he ended up 9th. I think
8th place is where he finished.
Well, if he ended up 8th, that's only 7 points in between. I think 6, 7 with I guess the halfway. So I was 23 back, so I'll be like 17ish, somewhere around there. I'm not quite sure the points, but yeah, it's just gonna have to claw it back. I mean, I do like Richmond though, so we'll see how that goes there. But yeah, just very frustrated.
Yeah, you just gotta slowly chip away at it. It'll come eventually. We'll have to wait and see though. But before we have you head on out, Jared, I know it was a slightly disappointing race, but still congratulations on 2nd. It's a huge finish for you. Anybody you would like to thank? Anything else you would like to say?
Yeah, shout out for you putting the broadcast on, everyone who runs the league, OCM people for letting me chill in their VC, and yeah, I guess you can't really be disappointed with PT though.
No, definitely not. But that was a great race for you. Good finish. Even though it wasn't the result you wanted, second place, definitely not something to be upset about.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the NASCAR Cup race now.
All right. Have a good time, Jarrett.
Thanks.
Now we're going to bring in our race winner for tonight, driver of the 6 car. Her first win since the old Atlanta race, Jolene Sims. And Jolene, how does it feel to come away with this one?
That's awesome, man. This is how you win races. From lap 1, won the pole, definitely led the most laps, won halfway, and now the win. Man, it's just awesome. Like, this is the type of pace I feel like I would have had like this entire season, you know? Like, this is one of the races where like I feel like I just did everything right, what I was supposed to do. Is exactly what you need to be in the playoffs. And, you know, as soon as I saw, because I knew Drew and Jarrett was probably my biggest competition, and JT, Min probably too, but I have no idea what happened to him. But like, they were faster than me, like with like 15 lap older tires. And on that final run there, when I came into pit road early while they were all battling, I knew I'd get ahead of them because of the undercut. And then I saw Drew was on pit road longer than usual, and was like, oh my god, he sped again. And just like the Atlanta race, I won that race. He sped. Same thing here, but just awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good race. Strategy played out for you to perfection. I know sometimes the undercut hasn't worked out for you, but it worked out beautifully here today. But taking a look, we'll go back to those last couple of laps before Tim Moore came down pit road. What were your thoughts? Because you closed up that gap real quickly, then all of a sudden that gap stopped shrinking. It kind of stayed almost the same there for a while. Up here in the booth, I thought he had hit the mark to save, but then I saw him come down pit road. I was a bit surprised. What was going through your head during that?
I completely forgot about that because, dude, I was so scared. I had no idea what Tim did, but I remember hearing my spotter with like 10 to go or whatever. He ran the 39 like 6 or whatever, and that was the same pace as me. As like, how did he like pit like with 30 laps to go, like saved? And then I have no idea, because he must have been on older tires. He must have saved real good, and then to be able to run like under 39 with that old tires, that's impressive. But I was seriously thinking that he'd saved enough to win, and I was driving so hard to catch him. And then when I like only getting like a 10th or 2 a lap, I was like, man, there's no way I'm gonna like lose this race like this. But it was such a relief when he came down pit road.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a huge breath of fresh air coming from you. You see him come down, and whoo, that's a huge break. But taking a look from the playoff standings here tonight, you took the stage, you took the win, you swept the race. Phenomenal showing for you, Jolene. You finish ahead of Drew Jua by 7 spots, currently points leader. A couple other drivers that you're competing with, like Tim Moore, you're able to gain on him in the points because of your sweep here tonight. Looking at Richmond, you're going to be, I would say, probably about 20 or so points out from the points lead. Looking forward, we could maybe see the 6 car in the points lead heading into Dega.
Oh yeah, I sure hope so. I love Drew Jura, but like, he's just gonna have to keep making mistakes like that if we're gonna get the lead like this. This is kind of disappointed that we only had 14 cars, because if we had 25 cars and Drew sped on pit road, he's going from like 8th to like 15th or whatever.
For you.
Yeah, but I'll take what I got. This is like the best day I could have possibly had on racing, so I'll take it. Richmond is probably going to be a great track for me, even though it's like a big tire save, big tire wear track. I think I'll be good because I was good at Iowa earlier this season. I know Drew is going to be amazing there too, because he's good on tire saving tracks. But just hope the luck pays into my favor here, and this is a great way to start. Great momentum. My last 4 finishes, I think, have been top 3. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, definitely some good momentum heading into the playoffs. A great way to kick it off with a win at Michigan. But before you head on out, Jolene, anybody you would like to thank? Anything else you would like to say?
I'd just like to thank McGinnis and everybody there, Tim Moore and everybody. like offering help with like my whole account situation, all that. To be able to even like race here, I was pretty bummed out not missing Las Vegas because that, big tracks like this and Vegas are great for me, but like this win here just feels like payoff for that, all that, and it just feels great. Feels great. Before practice, me and Min Heng had a like race like side by side for like 25 laps straight. I was kind of wishing he was able to come up there, but I never saw him all day. It would have been great racing. But happy to put on a show for you guys.
All right, Jolene. Well, congratulations on that win. Congratulations on your second win of the season, and best of luck next week at Richmond.
Thank you.
With all that being said, we want to take a moment to thank you all again for joining us here at No Name Gaming and Racing Lights Productions for the Online Motorsports Association's Virtual Racing Championship. They call it Pop 200. Congratulations to Jolene Sims for getting her second win of the season and her first here for the playoffs. Next week, we head to Richmond for short track racing in round 2 of the Season 10 playoffs. We hope you all enjoyed the broadcast tonight. I want to thank the OMA for allowing us to bring this race to all of you. Be sure to check out Racing Lights Productions on Twitter with @RacingLightsPro, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. You can also head over to the YouTube channel to check out any previous broadcasts that you may have missed. I am Alex Light saying good night to you from the virtual Michigan International Speedway.